This is the story of sound. On a symphonic planet. Where life has a melody. A melody we imitated and then made our own. Until the only music we could hear was our own. But the other musicians are still here, still sending signals through our noise. They're like cousins we don't talk to anymore. But some of us are still listening. So what are they saying? Climate change demands new solutions and new stories. My name's Charles Lowe. My friends and I set out to find those narratives, with the hope that what we learned would resonate everywhere.
Hey there! If you enjoy our storytelling and want to help us continue doing it, consider making a donation at norcalpublicmedia.org/donate. Thanks!
Most radio shows and podcasts are about humans talking about humans. Ear to the Wild is different. When you listen to it, it transports you out of the human world into the wider world.
So much can be learned just by listening to a place. I mean, you can literally hear the biodiversity here. And that suggests that it's a pretty healthy habitat. Thanks for lending an ear to the wild. I'm Jack Hines.
I wanted to learn, why is Jack so passionate about animal sounds? So we met up at Sugarloaf Ridge.
I was living in the East Bay in Oakland and playing music and stuff, and I had made the decision that I wanted to move up to Sonoma County. And once I got up here, I remember just hearing the birds, and I just mentioned to a coworker that, it'd be fun to record them. I'm recording with the Sound Devices 722 at 48K 24-bit.
So why does sound matter? Well, according to scientists Julia Blau and Jeffrey Wagman, sound is material colliding and sending out vibrations. Sound is matter. Patterns of matter that carry information, which animals use in all aspects of life, from asserting territory to finding a mate, even to culture. That's what birds have been doing ever since they evolved from theropods and developed an air sac called a syrinx to make sound. They're basically flying, singing dinosaurs. And every bird song is the music of evolution. This is Jack's mentor, Bernie Krause. Bernie's a legend. He worked as a sound recordist and musician in Hollywood. Glamorous, but not always fun. When he couldn't be fired from a union job, a director tried to get him to quit by shipping him off to Iowa to record the sound of corn growing. Little did they know, corn sounds pretty cool. Eventually, Bernie went on to bigger and better things, like pioneering the field of soundscape ecology. Soundscape ecology explores how the diverse sounds of a landscape carry ecological meaning. There's Geophony, the sounds of the earth. Biophony, the sounds of life. And Anthropophony, the sounds of us. When a soundscape is strong and healthy, animals make room for each other's voices. Dawn is one of the best times to hear this, when the world wakes up to itself.
The thing about the dawn chorus is it's not very rich. Yeah, the density and diversity is not here. like it used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, the drought periods that we've been having and the atmospheric rivers and stuff like that, that's really unusual.
Yeah, it is.
I've been told that you're a national treasure, Bernie. That we should appreciate being here with you and Jack.
Who told you that?
It wasn't me.
What are we hearing right now?
We target this time because it's right as spring is coming online, and the Biophony is really at its peak.
And this is what we've been recording. We record here every year around this time. You can always find us here. You know, if you guys are lonely and you have nothing to do, we'll be here.
Yeah.
I've been recording here since 1993. In the 90s and early 2000s, that peak always happened around this time. Now it's changed because spring is occurring 2 weeks earlier. Not only the species are changing, but the numbers of birds have dropped off radically. We've actually had recordings in 2015, and last year we've actually had no bird sound at all, not a single chirp. It's a signature sound of climate change. It's an incredible library of Alexandria that we're beginning to destroy.
Around the world, animals are scrambling to adapt. As climate change affects things like migration patterns and the conditions by which sound travels, including temperature, wind, humidity, and the structure of soundscapes is collapsing.
These soundscapes have had an impact on the development of our culture. So we've been imitating these sounds of these creatures all our lives. That's where we got our music. Not only our music, but also language.
And so we went with Jack to record some of nature's music, and brought along Miguel, our composer. These two are hitting it off. Miguel was collecting unconventional sounds for a new song he was writing, and we were looking for an animal once driven to near extinction in California, the Tule elk. We just needed them to chat with us.
They just weren't bugling. Apparently that happens a little bit closer to dusk.
And so we waited.
Time is now 18:04. Just to describe the scene, they're very close by are a harem of female elk. And there's a male just a little further off.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Couldn't ask for much better.
It's a completely different emotional connection being there, hearing it.
That's what I hope to do, is just that if it moves someone enough to say, hey, the elk are out at Point Reyes, I want to go hear them, and to come out and have the experience themselves.
Just off the coast, another soundscape is unraveling. Our oceans. This concerns Callie Leiphardt, a data scientist who's been obsessed with whales ever since she was a kid. Callie and her colleagues run WhaleSafe, a tool which uses AI and big data to help prevent ships from hitting whales. We spoke with her and Rachel Rhodes, her teammate. Do you guys have any stories? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, no. I always just love to relive my first blue whale moment. There's just nothing quite like seeing a blue whale for the first time, like when they're gliding through the surface, you're like, when is it gonna end? When is it gonna end? When is it gonna end? And they're just that big. 1% of the world's population has seen a blue whale. So to say I'm part of that 1% is always.
I'm not part of that 1%, so I'm a little bitter, but I know it'll happen at some point for me.
How does noise affect animals in the ocean?
Whales and dolphins use communication, vocalization. And so if you have, this is a perfect example actually, okay, right? We're trying to talk.
Yeah.
You hear all that background noise?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're a whale trying to communicate across an ocean basin and there's a rock concert going on.
Noise travels further and faster in the water than even in the air. So it's imagine having this noise pollution, but all the time.
It's a huge barrier to their communication, to how they find food. It can disorient them. So it's really just trying to live their life, I guess, at a concert.
And speaking of concerts, we want to check up on our maestro, who's beginning to hear music differently.
I can try and make it pitched and like work in the song later.
That was cool. I wish I could hear more of a whale though.
You want the raw like humpback like in the song somewhere, kind of like snuck in.
Like raw / only slightly touched. Like,
Okay.
Same thing with the bugles of like the elk.
Mm. But it was really great when we were with Jack, and after that experience, I really wanted to make it feel like it's more than just like around you, like you're a part of it. And then as soon as it kind of like gets taken away from you, you're missing it. You're feeling like you want it back.
That's cool. That's a great idea. Can we go to the piano? I like this like thing that you're doing. What is it?
Just G and B flat, yeah.
Yeah. You're kind of riding this wave, right? It's like kind of like soft and then like angry and then soft and then sad.
To kind of feel like you can almost hear the anxiety of ignoring climate, ignoring like the animals that we were hearing in the beginning. You're kind of feeling the tension of that.
Whale song is one of the world's oldest languages. 50 million years ago, whales transitioned from the land to the sea, taking their ears with them, including a unique bone called the involucrum. These ears allow baleen whales, including the ones WhaleSafe protects, to hear each other's low-frequency calls across an entire ocean. But human noise is disrupting their communication, at the same time that climate change threatens their prey. So they have to search harder for food and each other, even if it means moving closer to dangerous and disorienting shipping routes.
The unusual humpback numbers that we were seeing earlier is still a thing out there, or?
Like the last 5 days, I think there's been 14 sightings.
We should see too now with the Blue Whales Blue Skies reports, we actually are sending customized WhaleSafe reports to 32 companies.
That's great.
We create a lot of customized reports for shipping industry or for some of our research partners so that they can track what their fleet of ships is doing with a bit more detail throughout these whale safety zones or slow zones where they're asked to slow down.
At the very basis of it, no one wants to hit a whale. Like that's devastating for absolutely everyone involved, right? One thing that we've created is something called the whale presence rating. We have acoustics, we have sightings, we have model predictions, we have all the ship data. So it's kind of taking all these complex data streams into a very simplified way of understanding relative whale presence. So it goes from low to very high. If I'm a ship captain with 100 things to pay attention to, the last thing that I want to do is like try to understand what all this whale data means. So giving that data easy to understand, easy to access is, I think, a big piece of the puzzle. Shipping is global. We're all consumers. Everything that I'm wearing, that you're wearing, that's on this deck likely came over on a ship. And I think one of the goals is like a consumer button to this. Whether it's a ship this whale safe, I'll wait an extra day, or whatever it is, like bringing more of that buying power to the consumer is definitely, I think, a goal.
WhaleSafe made me wonder, how else are we unintentionally affecting wildlife? At the boundary of water and land, there's an animal that's a little harder to hear, the California newt. We hung out with my friend, Tiffany Yap, a senior scientist at the Center for Biological Diversity. She's also a comic book writer, K-pop fan, and expert at finding newts.
Yeah, super cute.
She really loves newts. Newts spend part of their lives in water and part on land. Their loud amphibian cousins, frogs, are kind of show-offs, but newts are stealthy and prefer to hide. For them, crossing the road is a pretty brave move, an essential one to get to their breeding ponds every year. Imagine you're a newt. You say peace out to your comfy log, exposing yourself to garter snakes and wheels that might squish you. But you've got to get to the party. You might meet somebody nice, and it's been a while. Yet, the road trip gets tougher every year.
This road has been closed every year because so many newts were being killed on this road. And so this is kind of a really cool spot in terms of community activism, protecting the newts.
So we're looking for what kind today?
The only ones I've seen here are California newts. Depending how long you want to walk, we can flip some logs. All right, ready? So like you'll see there's kind of little crevices and holes and burrows and stuff. That's where a lot of critters will kind of hang out. When I roll logs like this, I slowly roll them back in case there is something there and we just don't see it.
This reminds me of that scene in The Lion King.
Were they eating grubs? In Southern California, what we're seeing is over time, after these long extended droughts, the animals are showing up to be smaller than they used to be.
Because their food source is disappearing, their habitats, heat.
Yeah, all those things. All those things.
Okay, great. I'm glad I answered my own question.
Yeah. Newts need seasonal pools, but like they need to fill with water and then they need to last long enough for the eggs to hatch, for the larvae to develop, for the animals to metamorphose. So if they don't have enough time, that whole generation dies. Because not only is it extended drought where they're losing more breeding habitat, but it's also the increasing temperatures are making it harder for them to find habitat that's suitable for them. And so climate change is just another layer of stress. And the way we've built our roads and development might block pathways for them to find the resources they need. Oh, there's a newt right here.
Nice.
I'm glad you guys didn't step on it.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is a young one. It looks like once the rain started, it's kind of came out and is going to go look for its own terrestrial burrow.
Nice. So why newts?
I don't know. I think they're beautiful. There's something about their eyes that I think is also really compelling.
Yeah, it's all black, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
like an alien.
Yeah, it's
basically.
almost alien-like. Yeah, and it's just very stunning to me.
Since cold-blooded animals like newts don't waste a lot of energy, they're efficient at transferring that energy from their prey to their predators. They're like energy bars spread across an ecosystem.
So they help keep a balance of what's around us.
Yeah.
And if they're not here anymore, it's hard to predict what might happen.
Imagine there are all these patterns in nature of sound, of movement, of energy. Disrupting one part of the pattern disrupts the entire tapestry. And if we don't make major changes, biologists say that by the end of our century, half of the world's species will be gone forever. So how can we give animals a fighting chance? One way is to reduce habitat fragmentation. We can close roads like this one, build tunnels under roads like this one, or build bridges over roads like this one. But it's also about being creative. Sci-fi author Kim Stanley Robinson, unsurprisingly, has some ideas.
We don't need to designate wilderness as the only good place. This garden that we're right behind here has been designated by my village as a wildlife corridor. And it's not entirely a joke because that means they can get to the North Pond without getting crushed or run over or having any fences in their way. It'd be great if cities were greener, more city trees, more strange mixed ecologies, more human-animal interfaces where we don't end up treating them as pests and killing them. Let's go back to that slug. Come on, guys. Come on, I got a happier home for you. I'll just throw them in the compost. They'll be happy there. There'll be as much food there as here. There you go. Life is good.
Obviously, the most effective solution for the problem of roads is not building them at all. That's something the book Evergreen calls for. Its co-author is my neighbor, John Reid. John's a conservation economist. I asked him to grab a drink.
We've introduced rapid change, and so the biodiversity has to adapt to that, and sometimes it can't. To the degree that our society gives a shit at all about the environment, it's reduced nowadays to two main measurements. One is climate change, which we measure by these fractional changes in global temperatures, and biological diversity, which traditionally we have measured in the number of different species that are present. By those scorecards, Earth is changing very, very slowly in human time. It's changing fast in geological time. But what is changing very fast in human time is the actual abundance of wild things. They're going down by 60, 70, 90%. That's our biodiversity crisis of the moment.
John's pitched legislation to protect animals not just on the species level, but on the ecosystem level, something he calls the Abundant Life Act. It's about protecting not just the actors, but the stages they depend on.
They're not going extinct, but they're going functionally extinct in the ecosystems. Elk, for example, used to be all over the state. Now the elk population is vastly reduced, so while elk still exist, they're not playing their role in ecosystems all over our state, and they're not playing their role in the human experience.
So I've always been meaning to ask you this. You trained as an economist. Are you supposed to care about these things?
Where economics sort of runs out of rope is in trying to be the main compass by which we plot our ethical path. So I think economics can play a more circumscribed, analytical, informative role, but we have to use other parts of our brain and our feelings and our values to construct the world we want. People want to live in a beautiful world. People don't want to live in a scary, hot, dangerous world. What are our goals? What are our goals for abundant, wild life? What are our goals for a livable degree of climate change? And then we have to wrap our economy around that.
So we have a goal. Wild abundance. How do we not only prevent the worst of climate change, but allow for a reconnection to the planet? Hey, Miguel.
Hey, Charles. I just sent you the latest version of the song. I kind of tweaked the melody a little bit. I added some bass. I'm hopefully working in some of the whales and bat sounds that we were wanting to get, and hopefully by the end of it, you come out of it feeling like there's something that can change, there's something that we can all do to change, and it kind of pushes you to think about it a little more.
Cool. I'll check it out.
If we could just shut the hell up, we're going to be much better for it. I can't imagine doing anything that is more healing.
My dream would be a future in which we cared about the other kinds of organisms that are inhabiting this space with us.
Animals, they have this intrinsic value.
They're such ancient animals. They've been around for so long, and humans are just really a blip on their evolutionary timeline.
If at the end of the day I save one whale, this is what keeps me going.
Quiet the mind. That is the first task.
Maybe if we listened better to the world around us, if we could turn noise into signal, and signal into meaning, if in the songs of strangers we heard our own music, we'd connect to the life all around us and the stage it all plays out on.
To learn more, you can explore our other episodes and resources on pbs.org and the PBS app. Just search Climate California or go directly to climatecalifornia.org. Climate California is brought to you in part by Crankstart, a San Francisco-based family foundation that works with others on critical issues concerning economic mobility, education, and the environment. And by donors to the NorCal Public Media Center for Environmental Reporting, including Jay Longfellow through the estate of Claire Etienne, Margaret McCarthy, and Stephen L. Smith.